the newest edition of Slot Talk, the monthly show where we discuss anything slots and try to bring you more information to make you a better slot player. I'm your host, DProxima, and as always, I'm joined by my dashing co-host, Brent.
Hello, Dan.
Welcome.
How you doing? It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Actually, we filmed a segment a few days ago that we're going to talk about in a minute, so we've actually just saw each other. But we're very happy to be doing our newest show. But before we kick off, I just want to thank our viewers for helping make Slot Talk the huge success that it is. We literally have thousands of viewers that watch our show every month. We love that you love the show, and we can't wait to bring you more. So about tonight's show, we have our best show. Yeah, I know I said that last month. We had our best show, but this show tops that show like way more. We had an amazing interview with a director of slots at Coushatta Casino. His name is Warren, and you'll see that in just a minute. What do you think, Brent? I love the conversation we had with him.
I love talking with Warren. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, I actually work at a casino, so it was really interesting talking to somebody else who works on a different part of the casino, because from my point of view, I never really interact with the slot people at all as a table games dealer. And talking with Warren, as you'll find out, he does everything. I mean, he worked in a little casino, and so he is the jack of all trades. He understands table games, surveillance, slot machines, coins, deposits, banking, accounting, everything. So yeah. It was a great talk with him, and I found out a lot of things that I actually didn't know.
Yep, and you'll see that in a second. And for anyone that's ever been curious at all about the behind the scenes of a casino or why they pull a slot machine off the floor, your favorite machine that you love, we answer that question for you coming up in just a couple seconds. And then at the end of the show, we have a question for you guys, and also we answer that same question ourselves. And we also will have a fun question that I know Brent is very passionate about. So,
what
do you say?
Let's get into
the interview. Let's do it. Well, it's a pleasure for me to introduce to you the director of slots from Coushatta Casino Resort. It's the biggest in Louisiana. He's the guy that has all the control over the slot machines. His name is Warren Davidson. Warren, Brent and I want to welcome you to Slot Talk.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we wanted to have you on the show because for a couple reasons. One, we know that you're very involved in the slot community. You've hosted meet and greets, you participate on the forums, and also we actually talked about your casino and you in a prior episode because you allow filming of the slot machines. So we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll talk about why that is that you allow filming. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about Coushatta? And also, I'm curious about how you got into the slot machine industry.
Sure. Well, Coushatta, we've been open 20 years now. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And we have a big database of players, loyal guests that come. Most of our guests come from Houston, Texas area, the majority, I should say. And then a little smaller amount from Louisiana, but still a good crowd from Louisiana. We have 2,800 machines. All kinds of table games. We have bingo. We have off-track betting, RV park. Several hotels. We're just opening our new renovated Grand Hotel tomorrow, so we're pretty excited about that. As far as how I got into the business, 23 years ago now, I was managing a video store, and I could see the handwriting on the wall that business wasn't going to be around too much longer. It hung on longer than I thought it would. But actually, a buddy of mine had gotten me the job at the video store, and he ended up getting fired, and I ended up later becoming the manager of it. So the same guy later on says, hey, I know this friend of mine, and he's opening a casino in Colorado, and do you want to go out and work in a casino? So I decided, I packed up everything in my little car, and I drove from California out to Colorado in Central City, and we opened a little casino out there. And when I say little, we had 140 slot machines and no tables.
Wow.
That was the entire casino. But that's how they all were. It's a little mining town, and it's got a little main street, and most of them were tiny little places like that. So
I've been there. I've been there. I love it.
Okay. Yeah,
oh yeah, in Black Hawk in Central City. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I was in Black Hawk too.
Yeah.
So same thing happened. He ended up getting fired, and later I became the manager of that casino. So it was a small place, so I got to learn how to do everything. I learned how to deal blackjack and mix drinks and work the cage and do the hard count and work on slot machines. And surveillance and security and really everything. So I got a lot of good experience there, which ended up paying off because I stuck with it. And then I went to work for another company. We closed that just due to business. It was pretty tough there. And went to another company a little bit bigger and got on as a shift manager. And that was with Harrah's. It was Harrah's at the time before they changed their name to Caesars.
Right.
And then there were some changes. The Harrah's ended up leaving, and the name changed. And at that point, some of their people left. And I became director of gaming operations for a casino called Canyon Casino. And then a few years later, I went up the street to another place, Penn National Gaming Property at the time. Well, actually, it wasn't at the time, but Penn National Gaming Property ended up buying it, called Bullwhackers, and I was there for 10 years. So I spent 16 years in Colorado, and then we got hit with a smoking ban. So it was pretty tough. The casinos that were already barely profitable, like the ones that I had been working in, had a tough time when that smoking ban came in. So my job was eventually eliminated, and I started looking and found a couple places. I interviewed here, and I interviewed in Oklahoma, and also in Missouri, Kansas City. And this was my first choice, and this ended up working out, and I've been here 6 years.
I didn't know you hopped around so many different casinos in Colorado. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we have a whole bunch of questions for you, and it's questions that our viewers have asked us in the past. It's questions that I've seen pop up on YouTube and Facebook, and questions all the time. So we're hoping that you can, and shed some light a little bit about how slot machines work and a little bit of kind of behind-the-scenes stuff about the inner workings of a casino. So Brent, I think you have the first question.
I do. By the way, I just wanted to say, Warren, that I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a blackjack dealer at Harrah's. I work at Caesars, I guess they call it now. I still say Harrah's. And it's so. I find it so amazing that you said that you were pouring the drinks and dealing blackjack and working in surveillance, because everything is so compartmentalized now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a blackjack dealer at Caesars, you're a blackjack dealer.
Right.
That's all you're ever going to do is table games, unless you switch jobs to something else, but you're never going to do both at the same time. So it must have been amazing to I can't even imagine working in that kind of environment.
Right. That's because the place I started was so small. You had to do everything. It wasn't a choice. Right. And some people looked at it as, I just want to be security, and I'm angry that I have to fill slot machines with coin. But I looked at it as, hey, look at all these different areas I get to learn. So I learned all those different areas, and that helped me get a shift manager job at a bigger casino because I knew all the different areas very well. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that experience. And you're right. If if you're a blackjack dealer, you've never seen the inside of the surveillance room, nor will you. They keep you far away.
Right.
So it is harder in a big casino to transfer around and work all those different places. So I do value that experience I got working at those smaller places early on.
Yeah, I don't even know who the surveillance people are.
Right.
Okay. All right. Cool. But my first question I wanted to ask you was, how or when do you decide to pull or swap out a slot machine?
That's a good question. And whenever we pull out a game off the floor, usually it's going to be somebody's favorite game, and sometimes we hear from those people and they're not too happy. But basically, we judge everybody I know and myself, in the business. We're looking at the game from a theoretical win standpoint. And theoretical win is just a simple calculation of how much money was wagered on that game times what is the theoretical hold percentage on that game. So that gives you your theoretical win number. Your actual win is going to vary. Day to day, it's going to be up, it's going to be down. Some days are winners, some days are losers for that particular game. So you don't look at that as much as you look at the theoretical win. So you believe in the math. Hey, as long as it keeps getting the play, your theoretical win, that's what you're expecting to make on that game. And in simplest terms, we pull out what people aren't playing and we put more of what people are playing. That's in its simplest terms. We do a lot of deep analysis on every kind of subtype of games. You've got low denom reels, you've got low denom video, you've got all those different categories of games, and you have to know what's available in all those different categories and which manufacturers and which product lines are popular with your guests. But basically, it is the guest who determines what stays on the floor based on what they're playing. And we've gotten a lot of heat everywhere I've been over the last 15 years or so for quarter and dollar machines being removed and penny machines being added. But that's when we look at our reports, we look at, from a 30,000-foot point of view, we look at the percentage of revenue from, say, penny games versus the percentage of floor space. And you can see which denoms or, with all those different game types, which are your better performers, what are people playing. And overwhelmingly in the last 10 to 15 years, the penny games have kept growing and quarter games and dollar games have been falling off. Right. So it's more of a reactive. If everyone all of a sudden said, we don't like penny games anymore and we want quarter games, three-reel mechanical, if that's where the play shifted, then we'd be on board with that and we'd bring more of those back on. So
right.
Every market's a little bit different, but across the country we've found the same kinds of trends in terms of penny video in the last 10 or 15 years really becoming dominant.
Cool. Well, insofar as penny games go, my other part of the question I wanted to ask you was, there is a well-known Awesome Reels hit that's on YouTube. It's by YouTube user Judge Doom, and it happened very early on, at least from my point of view, when Awesome Reels came out. It was a $2 bet, and it hit for $34,000, I think. So I wanted to know what was going through your mind, because this happened at your casino. And what was going through your mind when you heard that it happened? I don't know if you were there when it happened, and did you care that $34,000 was paid out on a $2 bet?
Yeah, I wasn't here when it happened, but what I was glad is that he filmed it and put it on YouTube. Right. I mean, it generated all kinds of excitement and a lot of controversy and all that. But yeah, those Awesome Reels games were kind of an experiment from WMS on super high volatility. And the amazing thing is, on those games, we brought in 4 of them originally, and the top award on those games is actually in the $80,000 range, depending on the specific theme, like 80 to 86,000. So Judge Doom with that video, he didn't even hit half of the potential on there. Now the odds are, incredibly huge to hit what he did hit, and even higher to hit the bigger ones. But those are out there. But it is kind of funny to read those comments on YouTube, that people who flat out don't believe it and all those things, and people are so incredulous. But really, we have a number of games on our floor where you can hit more for less of a wager. For example, we've got a bank called the War Pony, which we have a motorcycle giveaway, and it's a $30,000 prize package. You get a Harley that's usually worth about $20,000, and then you get the balance in cash. So it comes out to be $30,000 every time. The motorcycle might be $18,000, and you get $12,000 cash or something like that. But you can hit that at $1, and that hits. We average a little less than one a month, a motorcycle giveaway. Wow. And then we also put on a mystery car bank. That's a mystery jackpot, and we just changed that thing up. And now, so you don't have to play max bet. We've given away 4 $80,000 car packages in 2 months on that. One lady hit it, I just happen to remember, on a 30-cent bet.
Whoa.
She showed up on a bus and went home in a Cadillac. It was a great story, because what we do is we shoot for a vehicle that's about $45,000, and then we put about $35,000 in cash. That way, they have enough money to pay for the taxes on winning the whole $80,000 package.
Well, that's so generous of you.
It's a great package. It's not out of kindness. I mean, these other people have to lose, so some people are going to win that. You know. Yes.
Well, that sounds like my kind of game.
Cool.
Yeah, it hit far more often than we ever dreamed it was going to when we first put it in. We expected it to hit every couple of months, and it hit 4 times in 2 months. So it's been on a roll. So it's been very popular. And my Cadillac dealer is very friendly with me now.
Yes, Brent.
Dan, I had one more add-on question to that question. This is our personal pet peeve. Dan and I have been searching high and low for these 2 games, and I know that they used to be at your casino. Or at least I know one of them used to be at your casino, Warren. And I want to know what the hell happened to them. The Super Team game, which is the best game ever created.
Yeah, we never had Super Team.
You never had Super Team?
No, that one we didn't have.
Fine. I must have been. Well, maybe it's another Louisiana casino, but
possibly. Evangeline Downs had it, which is pretty close to us.
All right, cool. Well, then I can't bitch to you about that one. But, no, did you ever have the? There was a 4-game series of Wizard of Oz. It was like Over the Rainbow, Glinda the Good Witch, Wicked Riches, and Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Did you ever have those games either?
I'm sure we did. Yeah,
Okay.
they made so many iterations of those that it's hard for me to keep them all straight.
Yeah, they were the transmissive reels, and they just had a really good look. And I went to Canada one time trying to get to these games. That's
Yeah,
how
I
much
heard about
liked
that.
them.
Oh.
Yes, I know. It was a total fiasco. Yes. All right. Well, that's cool. I thought for sure Super Team was at Coushatta,
No,
but it must not.
that
It must have
one-
been. It must have been a different
we
one.
chose not to put that one in, and then my rep said, "Hey, you need to think about putting this one in." And then by his next trip back, he was telling me, "No, you don't want this one."
Yeah.
You know, so
No,
we take the word of our reps quite a bit because they know what the games are doing out in the field.
Yeah, that
But,
game honestly it's one of the best games ever created. I got to play it only like one time for 10 minutes, and the worst thing they ever did was having that where it looks like you have to register at the beginning of the game, and you really don't have to, but it makes you think that you do. So people just gave up and got up, and then of course there was no play on the game.
Well, WMS knew somebody was playing it, so that must have been you.
Yeah,
They knew we had at least one player.
Dan and I and our friend SD Guy, we all love that game.
We were the big fans of that game. So Warren, Super Team was not that you had it, but it was it's a leased game. So you leased those games from WMS or any of the other manufacturers that make leased games. Can you tell us a little bit about what the advantage to you as a slot director to acquiring a leased game versus actually paying $16,000 for an actual game that you would keep on the floor and keep for yourselves?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the benefits of a lease game is that you don't have any capital outlay. You can bring it in, you see how it does, you pay a daily fee. If your players like it, you keep it on the floor. If your players don't like it, you call them up and they take it out. The downside is those fees get to add up to be really, really expensive, and you can't really afford to have everything that's out there. The slot manufacturers have really put out so much content because they all want to get more share of your floor with lease games. Right. So they all try to one-up each other with new products and things like that. And they're really trying to kind of create a demand that doesn't necessarily exist. They're creating these products to try to get people to try them. They want to take market share away from the other manufacturers. So there's always been a bit of a rub between most of the operators and most of the manufacturers on, the manufacturers want to keep putting more lease games on your floor, and the operators are always pushing back, trying to keep their fees low and manageable, that kind of thing.
Brent, I think you have another question.
I do, and I have a caveat to this question because it says, any advice, Warren, do you have any advice for slot players? And I think the number one advice you might say would be don't play, but beyond that, do you have any advice insofar as using their player's card? Some people say, when I put my player's card in, I don't win, and when I pull it out, I do win, which of course we know is a total, BS, and also chasing progressives. I know some people try to chase, especially on the WMS games, they try to chase the progressives. So do you think that's a good thing, bad thing? Would you recommend that? What would you say to someone who said, I want to have a good time playing slots, what should I do?
Well, that's a great question. Every week or every other week, I go and do a little presentation at our new hire orientation for our new employees that are coming on board. And we typically, are hiring 20 to 30 people every other week. And I tell them that if they can stay awake through my whole presentation, that at the end, I'll give them the secret to how they, as a player, can walk out of any casino with a small fortune. And that usually gets their attention, and they start paying attention to me. And at the end, when I finish up, I say, okay, now I'm going to tell you how you, as a player, can walk out of any casino with a small fortune. And the answer is, you start with a large fortune. Works every time.
Yes.
That's very true.
So, I don't have any super secrets, since it's random, but I always tell people to take what you can afford to lose, have fun, don't play with money you can't afford to lose. I do encourage people to play with a card because, and I mentioned this in a recent post, but the business has kind of gone from just being a gambling business to being a gambling business where we're also giving away all these perks. In the old days, the pit boss might notice you playing and might give you a comp to the buffet before player tracking systems and things like that. But now everything is done through the card. So a significant portion of the return of the total money that's going to come back to the player is now based on play on the card. And that's through your free play offers, through your comps, through your cashback, discounts, anything like that. So, you know, if you're going to play regularly, you really need to play with the card if you want to get the most value back for your play.
That's a good point. My other question was, and we had alluded to this at the beginning of the interview, was filming. You are one of the few casinos in the United States that outright not just allows filming, but you encourage filming.
Right.
And it's two parts. One, why do you allow filming? And two, what would you say to other casinos that don't allow filming that would, you know, perhaps make them change their mind?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
It's like beating your head against a wall. Sorry to interrupt you. It's like, you know, you
right.
try to explain it to them, and they're just like, the casino system is that, you know, just even from a blackjack dealer standpoint, they're so set in their ways because, you know, they're always protecting themselves, and it's so hard to get them to change the rules. How did you guys change your rules, and, you know, what would you say to somebody else who, if you wanted to get them to change their mind?
Well, I'll preface it by saying, you know, I've been involved with the slot forums for maybe 5.5 years or so, something like that now. And when I first started reading the posts from people, I had no idea that anyone would want to film their bonus round and then later view it or put it on YouTube. So I searched on YouTube, and I'm like, I'll be darned, look at all these videos on here. You know, I had no idea why anyone would want to do that. So, you know, I started asking around the security director of security at the time, and I said, hey, what is our position on this? You know, because people are going to ask me, and I want to know what to tell them. And he said, well, we don't mind as long as they don't do it at the tables.
Right.
So I took that a step further, and I clarified it with our Tribal Gaming Commission to make sure they were also okay with this. And then we put it out in our weekly newsletter that absolutely, if they, you know, number one, you're not going to be able to stop it. I mean, you can buy a video camera now that looks like a ballpoint pen in your pocket. Right. I mean, if your goal is to video something, there's no way you could stop that. First of all, you know. Yes. So, and the other thing is, you know, people, they're not videoing their losses; they're videoing their wins. You know, why wouldn't you want that positive stuff out there? You know. So our gaming commission, I was very happy that they had that point of view, that they didn't see a problem with it. Of course, they can't do it at the table games. And we do ask that you don't get anyone else in the video. I mean, you have some expectation of privacy, but someone just filming their own machine, absolutely. Or, you know, and sometimes I'll walk up to people, and they'll see me see them, and they get the look in the eye, oh, God, I'm caught, you know, and I'll say, hey, do you want me to take your picture with the machine? And they're blown away by that. So, yeah, it wasn't really up to me, but we did kind of formalize it and make sure it was okay. But a funny story about that, at the last meet and greet, you know, we had several people who were big fans of, you know, videoing, and they knew it was okay to do that.
Right.
And one member, and I don't know if she's okay with me pointing her out, so I'll just say I won't say her name, but she was actually told by a security guard that she couldn't film at our place.
Really?
And, yeah, and she called him. She called. I don't know if it was I think it was a female security guard. She called her out on it and said, "No, we can. Warren says we can." and the security guard said, "Who's Warren?" So, I mean, she was probably a new person that hadn't been here very long and may have come from another casino where that's just their, you know, it's hard to get that message to 2,400 employees, you know, and make them remember those kinds of things sometime. But, yeah, when I realized how popular it was and what a deterrent it was for people who wouldn't go to a casino if they couldn't film, I've read all kinds of comments from people saying, yeah, they wouldn't let me film, so I've never been back to that casino. And I'm like,
totally.
Wow,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, if it's that important, we need to clarify it. Then we need to get that message out to our people, and so we've tried to do that.
Well, that's great. I really applaud you for that. And Dan and I know Dan supports me on this. We totally need to come down to Coushatta and play some slots, and just
Yes.
it would be so weird to just film out in the open
Right.
and not have to hold the camera at our chest like this, which is what we're normally. In fact, I was just at
Right.
Belterra 2 nights ago and doing the same thing, and I have my parents, my mom on my right side and my dad on the other as my blockers,
When you play
so that I don't
slots
get
with
caught.
Brent, you have to position yourself to one of his sides.
Right, right. You have, smoke grenades. You create diversions and things like that to film your.
Yes.
What I would recommend, though, seriously, is to find out who the director of marketing is at whatever local property that you go to that doesn't let you film. And send them a letter saying, hey, ask them to check out YouTube and all of these slot videos. Make them aware that they're missing out on all of this positive publicity.
Right.
I think that's the right person to go to, is the director of marketing, because that's their job, is to get their casino out there and put a positive image out of their casino. If they knew how important this was to some people, there's a good chance they would change it. Maybe not, but it can't hurt to ask.
That I'm a big I play at the Wynn, and I get also all sorts of offers from the Wynn and the Encore, and I have considered in the past doing that, but I think I've been going to the wrong person, because I sort of talked to my host and I sort of talked to the VP of slots. But I think that's, like you said, I think the marketing person is the person I need to be talking to, because they're the person who's going to care.
General manager too. The general manager would be a good one as well. But really, I think the person with the most vested interest in making that change would be the director of marketing. That's who I would hit.
All right, that's good advice.
All right, let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk about math. So, one of the things that is highly debated on YouTube and especially on some of the slot forums is your ability or inability to change the payback percentages on the machines. So it's my understanding that some casinos are equipped with remote servers that can, you can change the payback percentage of the machines remotely, and other ones you actually have to go into the guts of the machine and change it. Right. But I'm not really quite certain what the advantages of either one of those situations are over the course of time. But we would love to hear your opinion on, payback percentages, and can they be changed on a whim at your casino?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I know people do ask that. And first, I'll preface to say that when I'm speaking about slots, I'm speaking about Class 3 slot machines.
That's right.
Because the big thing is server-based gaming. Everyone in the industry, 10 years ago was talking about server-based gaming. And if you ask the Class 2 bingo-based people, they'll say, why are you so excited? We've been doing this for 20 years. Sure. Class 2 bingo has always been server-based, and they've always had those abilities, so there's nothing new to them. But when most people refer to server-based gaming, they're referring to the Class 3. And you could probably even better call it server-assisted gaming, because the actual gaming is taking place at the slot machine's random number generator. The server is just there to change configurations. So if you have server-based gaming, yes, you could change configurations. You could change your pricing in terms of minimum and maximum bets, and you could change the hold percentage. We have a total of 16 machines that are connected to WMS's networked gaming. And the only reason we have that is not to remotely change configurations or to do content. It's so that we can use their progressive things that they have. They have some mystery progressives. One's a volcano theme and one's a piggy bank theme.
Sure.
And they have a following. They're not hugely popular, and WMS hasn't really expanded that line. So for us to change a hold percentage is not an easy task. We have to final drop the game. We have to do a lot of paperwork. Then we have to go actually change, put the chips in, change the hold percentage. Then the state has to come in, sign off, and Cobotron the chip, and then put it back up for play. So it's not an easy process, but more importantly, with the hold percentage, it takes such a long time to make a change one way or the other after you've changed something. Modern slot machines, video slot machines, most of them have billions of possible combinations. A typical 5-reel video slot machine might have 60 stops, 100 stops, 50, 60, 100. You multiply that times that times that. We're talking in the billions. Mm-hmm. So I realized that there's an IGT white paper out there from 20 years ago, and there's a Bally video out there, and I would like those people. I'd like them to explain it to me on what would be the advantages of changing a hold percentage when it takes 10 million handle pulls to make a serious change over a weekend. That's not going to help you. I'd like them to explain that to me. I suppose it is possible if you changed it every single weekend, say that over a super long term, you might see a change, but that's just not how the math really works.
Yeah, there's just this perception out there that,
Well, and see, that's the other thing is, I've been in the business 23 years, and I've been accused of monkeying with the whole percentage on a day-to-day basis for 23 years. So personally, the last thing I would ever do would be to want to put in a system to do exactly what I've been fighting, telling people that, no, we don't do that. Now it's theoretically possible. So can I guarantee that your local casino doesn't do that? No, I can't. They could. I mean, just because the math is so big, it doesn't make logical sense. And I always go back to my example. If I run a slot report of what all of my slot machines did yesterday, I'm going to find about half or a little more than half won money yesterday, and the other half lost money yesterday. So, I mean, if you were playing all day yesterday on one of the machines that lost money for the house, you're going to be pretty happy. If you were on one of the ones that won a lot more than its theoretical hold suggested, you're not going to be happy. But it takes, if I run that same slot report over a 6-month time period, now those variances go way, way down. I might have a handful of games that are still losing money even after all 6 months.
It's amazing to me that there could be games that are still losing after 6 months.
Yeah.
I just happened to look the other day, I've got a $100 machine that's upside down. It's losing money over 365 days. It hasn't made a profit.
Wow.
But those machines
let's go to that game, Dan.
Yeah, what game is that?
It's a $100 machine. You'll have to come find it.
Okay, great. We'll be done.
But I mean, there's because those $100 machines, the number of handle pulls is relatively low.
Right.
I mean, those machines will stay empty for 2 weeks, and then a big player will come in and just hammer it all weekend, and anything can happen.
Right.
Great, thanks. Well, Warren, you've been awesome, like beyond awesome to have on the show. I want to thank you very much. But one more question before we go to end on a fun note. You've been on the casino floors quite a bit, obviously. This is your job. Can you tell us, like, what maybe the strangest thing you've ever been asked, or the strangest thing you've seen or heard,
or the most improbable win, like back to back,
something crazy that will blow our viewers away?
Yes.
About a couple of years ago, we had a maintenance guy who was doing some work in the ceiling of our casino, and he had some of the ceiling tiles out. And a little snake came down right next to him, and it fell down past his ladder, and it went into one of the walker ducts, which was open, the walker ducts contain all the wiring that goes underneath all the slot machines. And he tried to find it, and it was gone. It took off. So fast forward 2 weeks later, a lady is playing a mechanical reel slot machine, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of the reel glass, this snake starts squirming around in front of her.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I have this surveillance video. I can't release it, unfortunately, because I probably win some money on a TV show or something. But
Right.
It's a great video because you can see her get up and she grabs a security guard, and you can tell she's trying to explain what happened, to the security guard. So the security guard gets kind of close to the machine, and then the snake squirms again, and the security guard runs the other way, like the snake was. It was just a little garter snake. It was probably a foot long.
Yeah.
Oh my
it's just a
gosh.
riot.
So eventually,
That is a riot.
Yeah. So it went back down, through the slot machine, and they had to get underneath the drop cabinets and chase it around. They finally grabbed it, and the security guy grabbed it, and then took it outside and let it go back in the field. So,
Wow.
Well,
That's amazing.
that was kind of amusing.
Well, I wasn't quite expecting that, but
I wasn't either.
It blew my expectations away on the funny story.
There's another kind of funny thing that happened just recently is, we have the little safes in the rooms.
Yes.
And one of them was locked, and we had to get our locksmith to unlock it because the guest had locked it or something like that.
Right.
And they found a hot pocket in there. in its sleeve. Someone obviously, maybe a little intoxicated in the middle of the night, thought it was a microwave. Put the hot pocket in the safe, and then pushed the button and locked it, and they didn't have their hot pocket.
Oh gosh,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. Well, I've seen a few hammered people at the casino.
Yeah,
You have.
that happens.
All right,
Yeah.
Warren, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome.
Sure, it's a good
Thank you,
time.
Warren.
Absolute
Enjoyed
pleasure
it.
to have you here. Thank you so much. We'll talk
Yep.
to you soon.
Thank you.
Well, wow. I have to say that talking with Warren, you could really tell that he was a really knowledgeable person. I mean, he knew his stuff. There was nothing that you could ask him about the casino or about slots that he didn't have an answer for. I can't believe I actually mixed up the fact that they'd never actually had Super Team. So I'm gonna find out who had Super Team and why they took it away because I'm determined to find that game as well.
Now, wasn't it true
Uh,
that you only played it like once and you regretted the fact that you only played it once? Is that true?
Yes. Yes. The first time that my partner and I went to Vegas, we stayed at we stayed at a couple other places, but the first time we stayed at the Encore, they had not only did they have Glinda the Good Witch, they had Over the Rainbow, they had Follow the Yellow Brick Road, Wicked Witches, they had everything. And they had Super Team, basically all 5 slots that I'm currently trying to find. They had everything. And I'm sitting there in ruby slippers, pounding away on a game that's going to be there for another 8 years. And all of these games, of course, disappeared by the next time I went, which was sort of a drag. Super Team, I mean, wow, what a great game. And, I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but yes, I had an opportunity to play it. I didn't really play it because I didn't understand it. But then by the time I did understand it, it was gone.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact how Warren explained about how in order to change the payback percentage, they have to actually go into the guts of the machine and pull out the chip and change into the paperwork and all that thing. I think a lot of people assume that it's just something you can change on a whim, and I love the fact that he was able to explain that much better.
Right. Well, one thing I know about working in the casino is that nothing changes on a whim. There is nothing you can do in the casino that doesn't require a sign-off by about 3 to 4, sometimes as much as 10 people.
Really?
I mean, literally. I'm not kidding about that. Seriously.
But let's dive into some questions. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, so I teased at the beginning because I love to tease. Let's talk about. So we got this question. Actually, I got the same question from 2 different people, Jeffrey and J.M. Engelhard, and the question was, can you list out your favorite Easter eggs? And anyone doesn't know what an Easter egg is, it's kind of like something hidden in the game that kind of pops out randomly or unexpectedly or surprisingly. It's something that the programmer has built into the game that makes it a little bit unexpected and fun that we wouldn't expect to pop up. So I know, Brent, you're very passionate about Easter eggs, so this is a perfect question for you. So what are your favorite Easter eggs?
Well, we had, previously to this conversation, you and I had been talking about this question, and actually, I just thought of a new one that we had not thought about. So I will list that at the end. But my favorite ones come from Winning Bid 2. For those of you who don't follow my channel, I just posted a video from Winning Bid 2. And it has a ton of Easter eggs in it, what I would call Easter eggs. I mean, there's things that happen that don't happen a lot or that you never see happen. I mean, I've played the game at least 30 times, and I've never seen the little bear rug in the back bid except for like one time, which for those of you who don't know, not only can the people bid, but the inanimate objects that are behind them can also bid. And there's just weird things that happen during it that are very fun. Obviously, Biff Diamond can come in. There's a super special item, which is like, I love the super special item in Winning Bid 2 because it's like this old game that I used to play back in my ColecoVision days called Mr. Do, and every once in a while a diamond would come out, and if you could get the diamond, you'd win like 10,000 points. And this is the same concept where like it's not always there. It's there like maybe 1 in 20 times, 1 in 10 times. And on top of that, you have to find it from the collection of auction items that they have. But if you can find it, you win a lot of money. The other thing I wanted to bring up, which I'll let you take the other ones, was the one that our friend SD Guy got on tape by that girl who was playing it, Clue, when she cleared the dining room bonus and didn't use the antidote.
Oh, that's a good one, yes.
Yes, I can't believe we didn't think about this. That was a huge Easter egg. I didn't even know that was there.
What did that pay? What did it pay? Like $666 or something?
It played 666 times her bet.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right.
Yeah, 666 times her bet, which of course she was betting like 80 cents at the time. Yeah. But she still won an insane amount of money. And the other thing I wanted to say about that game is that for the longest time there was this long-standing rumor that if you cleared all of the rooms in the library, like if you cleared all 6 rooms plus the library, then you would get to go to the attic bonus. I swear this was like an urban legend that, like, I'm serious. Do you remember
who started
this?
that? Do you know who started that rumor?
Who started it?
SD Guy started that rumor on the Players Life forum, and he claims that he started it because he was drunk one night. So it is not true.
Okay, well, I know it's not true, but for the longest time I was like, oh my God, is that a thing? Because that would be so cool.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, I think that he thought of it because he's also an Easter egg fan, and he thought this would be a really good thing for them to do.
Totally.
At least they got the dining room bonus right. So.
Yeah. Clue is awesome like that because there's so many fun things going on in the top screens too, with the guys dancing around and.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, when they hop in and out, and then the lights out thing, and
To the best of my knowledge, Clue, the original Clue, does not exist anymore. The last one was at Bellagio, but if anyone knows it's out there still, I'm very curious. But I'm pretty sure it's gone.
The original Clue, yes.
The original Clue. It's sad. So another Easter egg that we loved was from a couple different versions of Wonka. When you get a 0 bonus, Wonka comes out and says, "You get nothing."
Yeah, and, but the first one though, Dan, is the big one of the original Willy Wonka.
But it also does it on the 3-reel too.
If I thought it only gives you 2,500, like it doesn't give you that much.
No, but it comes out and says you get nothing.
That's true. It does do that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the really, really amazing one is on the Willy Wonka original one, where you get to pick. Yeah, yes. Pimp Master T had that one. Yeah,
and you can win a good amount of money, so it's not just a plain old boring bonus guarantee. You can actually win quite a bit.
Right. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, if in the original Willy Wonka, if you get a bonus and you don't win a penny, you can't win anything. So basically, the only way to do it is if you get the spins, you get a small amount of spins and you don't win anything. Then the game comes on and says, you get nothing thing, and then it says, is this how the bonus really ends? And it drops down like these 5 chocolate pieces or whatever, and you have to pick amongst them, and you can win, like, I want to say like 200 times your bet, 300 times. I don't know. It was a lot of money. And for those of you who don't watch Pimp Master T's channel, he actually got it on video. So.
Yeah. So we want to know. There's actually one more Easter egg, and then I'm going to ask you guys if you guys know any other ones. But the last one, I think we discovered this together, or you discovered it before we were all playing together at Aria, and you clicked on the Ruby Slippers on Ruby Slippers 2, and you kind of tap it a few times, and then it sparks and like zaps you, but it doesn't really zap you, but it makes like an electrocution noise.
Right. And actually, this is because I'm wont to, tap the screen, as people know who watch my winning bid videos. And I'll just randomly start going, "Come on, Glenda," and I'll tap the screen, and that's what happened. I was like, ah, like the sound, like you associate that sound with being electrocuted. So when it happened, I was like, ah. So I was a big girl.
So we want to know from you guys, what other Easter eggs are out there that we're missing? I think we thought quite a bit about this and can't think of. I know they all so far are from WMS Gaming.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, they're really good about that. They put a lot of effort into their games. But if there's any other Easter eggs out there, we want to hear from you. So comment below. All right, let's ask the next question. So the next question came from Steve, who actually lives close by to me in Massachusetts. What is your biggest win to date, and how long were you playing that particular machine before you hit that big win? I'll go first.
Go ahead. Go.
Sure.
Yeah.
My biggest win was, it was just a while ago. It was probably 8-10 years ago. It was on a double diamond 3-reel IGT game.
Okay.
And I landed the 3 double diamond symbols, and it was a dollar machine, and it $2 max bet, and it paid me $4,000. So that was my biggest hit to date. I've hit obviously a couple other jackpots. But that machine was my biggest hit, and I was probably playing it. I think I only put $40 in, and if I recall, I was kind of bouncing around the $40 mark for a while, and maybe 10 minutes at most before I hit it. So that was at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut.
Interesting. That is, I swear we're like divergent twins who got lost at birth, because my biggest win is a $4,000 win on an IGT game. That is my biggest win. It happened very early in my gaming career. I wasn't even taking slots seriously. I wasn't taping at the time. It happened right before I started taping. And it was as we were leaving the casino, I threw $20 into a 10 times pay machine. It's actually the first slot video that's on my channel. I don't have an as it hits video, but I have after the fact.
Yep.
And I won $4,000 by landing 2 of the 10 times pay symbols on the pay line, along with a double bar on a dollar machine that was a 2 credit max. And the other thing I wanted to say was, thinking back on I'm trying to think of all the hand pays that I have, like the Ruby Slippers free spins, and the Awesome Reels ones, and the Great Eagle Returns one. All the ones that I have, almost all of them were within 5 minutes of sitting down at the game.
Yeah.
I'll just tell a really quick story and then I'll shut up. Is that the one that I wanted to tell you about was not my biggest win, but Jay and I had gone to Vegas. I had played Ruby Slippers on my previous trip. I had walked in, and this is when I discovered that Super Team and Glinda the Good Witch and all those games were gone. So we walked in. We played a game first. Jay said that I have to go off and make a phone call. He says, but don't lose the money you just won, because I'd won $100 on some game, which $100 to him is a big deal because he's like, a tight gambler. And I walked over to Ruby Slippers, and I intentionally put $100 more in than what I had on my ticket, so that by the time he came back, if I lost $100, it would look like I was even with him. Like, it's a whole thing. I planned it out. And I sat on the game, and that was the time that I got all 4 characters in the Ruby Slippers free spin bonus and won like $1,500. It was an amazing experience, and we hadn't even checked in yet. That was the thing. I mean, like, he's on his phone talking to a patient of his, and he comes back and I won $1,500. It was a pretty amazing experience. Nothing like that would happen to me today, by the way. I've had the unluckiest year, and it's continuing into 2015.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, how's your year going so far? I know for me, I was in Vegas. I've only gambled once this year. I was in Vegas for 5 nights, and it didn't go too well. I lost my bankroll plus a little bit more, plus a little bit more, plus a little bit more. I kept going to the ATM, but it was a rough start. I hit a lot of nice hits, but you know me, I just throw it back in. It was a good time.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. I mean, if I have a lot of nice hits and some great videos to show for it, and I lose $3,000, that's a winning trip to me. I mean, I'm thrilled with that. I really haven't done much lately. I mean, to be honest, you can always tell how I'm doing by the way my channel looks. If I'm posting a lot of really fun videos, then you know that I'm winning and I'm having a good time. If the videos are a little slower and you're only posting like 1 or 2 a week, then you know that I'm probably spacing the videos that I have out because of the fact that I'm not really getting much. It's just I've been in a dry spell, and I'm sure it's gonna break. But for right now, I really haven't done much on anything. The saddest part about going to play slots is that I don't mind if I lose. I really don't. I could lose $1,500 and I wouldn't blink an eye. If I don't have a good time losing it, that's the part that sucks. Where you don't get any bonuses and you just nothing fun is happening. You're just feeding the money into the machine and you're not having a good time. And I know that the math works out in such a way where in order for me to have a good time, I have to have days like that. I get that, but it seems like I'm on a rough spell right now. Right. So hopefully I come out of it soon.
You know what the problem is? You and I haven't played together since October.
We need to play together.
And it's going to happen this spring. You and I are connecting in Las Vegas, if not sooner, and that's when our luck will turn.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, we're currently planning on going. We're going to have tons of great videos. Tons! And the reason we're going to have tons of great videos is because win or lose, not only are we doing a lot of live play at the Aria, or at least I will be, but we're also going to be with the one and only SD guy who's currently planning on accompanying us to Vegas. And the 3 amigos are back together, and we're going to be having a grand old time on Lucky Lemmings and Meerkats and Ruby Slippers 2 and
all
winning
those fun picking games.
Yes, all the fun and race for the gold.
Yep.
Yes, all the really cool games.
It'll be great.
Well, this has been a good show.
Yeah, this is our show, folks. Again, thanks so much for all your support with the channel. Share this video with your family, anyone that loves the casino. This is the show you want to share with them. Until next month, happy slotting.